Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of 0 to 60. So, it's been a week. I can't believe time has gone so quick, but the 0 to 60 wrecking yard has been under full swing. We've also delivered quite a lot of tyres. It's been crazy. Now, this car got dropped off the trailer after breaking the axle at roll racing last week, and we're going to see if we can move it with the LSD. So it's got the LSD, and I'm hoping that it'll move forwards with one axle. I know it wouldn't at the track, but I think it was because the oil... I don't know. Anyway, we'll see if we can move it. And if it does move, I'm going to go all the way to the shed. King, watch out, buddy. At least my diff's still good. Yeah, I don't know if you heard it, because the diff was slipping a little bit, this is a clutch diff, it actually tried to change into second way too early. Anyway, we've managed to get up here, let's get it on the hoist and we'll get that axle swapped over. And it's a new day. I actually filmed that bit that you saw last night. It was about 6 PM and I was intending on swapping the axles last night, but I come into the shed to start filming, and it's still a mess now, but it was a massive mess yesterday. Over the last couple of weeks, I've been pulling bits and bobs off of the E90, and we've got an E90 engine. It was just a bit of a mess. So I had a bit of a clean up last night, tidy up, put all the tools away, and then I've cleaned the floors this morning, and I've ingeniously used a solvent-based degreaser on the floor. And what it's done is it's mixed with all the oils. It's just made the slipperiest surface known to man. So if I fall over during this video, that's why. Okay, now moving on as well, there's something else that I wanted to see if you guys were interested in. So, long story short, when I snapped the axle last Saturday at roll racing, I'm like, sweet, time to get on with the DCT swap, because I'm going to have to swap the diff. May as well use my M factory axles that I got on the shelf over there. Yeah, and get on with it. However, a week has passed and I'm still waiting on bits and pieces to get that DCT swap done. Like, I don't think I'm going to have the parts in the next week. And that's got me thinking, should I get my car dynoed this week with the 6AT? So heaps of people have asked about doing the dynoing with the 17T turbos. And I get why a lot of people put a lot of value into those dyno numbers, but it's something that just never really bothered me. And I always sort of, to me, draggy numbers are more important than... So M3 just rocking up. Draggy numbers are more important than dyno numbers, like real world numbers there. But I know a lot of guys want to see the dyno, so I'm thinking, I've got to pay for it as well, which is a bit annoying. But let me know if I get 5 people comment below saying they want to see the dyno numbers on the 17T with the 6AT. Let me know, because what sort of triggered in my mind, I want to see how much more power the car makes with the DCT at the wheels versus the automatic at the wheels. So I've got a feeling the auto is going to use a lot more power up than the DCT will. In theory, the DCT should have similar power loss to a manual. So I'm kind of interested to see if you pick up much power at the wheels when you do a DCT swap. Let me know if you want to see it. I want 5 comments below and I'll book it in. I'll just pay to get a dyno run done in the next week before we actually start the DCT swap. And on topic of the DCT swap, I actually contacted 2 different companies in Australia that advertise they do the MSD81 VIN matching, because I've got to put an MSD81 into my car and basically upgrade the MSD80 to get the DCT to work. No biggie, because obviously we've got the MSD81 in the donor car. However, nobody gets back to me. So it's led me on to doing a lot of research, and I have actually ordered the tools to do all the coding to make this work, which I'm kind of excited about. It may brick some modules, which will lead into more educational videos, I hope. But yeah, I'm going to actually be able to do the MSD81 VIN matching, well, hopefully be able to do it here, and ISN coding. And that means I can also do keys. So at the time that I ordered the scan tools to do it, I actually ordered this key cutting machine, which got here in 3 days from China. Yeah, so we got a few cool things coming, even though we haven't been doing many videos this week. There is a lot going on. But yeah, it's going to be everything from key coding, ISN matching, the DCT swap, And yeah, if you're interested, I'll try and get this car dynoed this week. Anyway, let's get on with this video. I'm going to get my car in. I'm just going to throw one of the second-hand axles that we pulled out of the E90 parts car just for the next week, because I don't really want to just fit my M factory axle for a week. I'll have to take it out anyway, and I've got those ones on the floor there. All right, let's get this car in and get the axle out. So there's Bryce finally leaving. An hour later. All right, let's get the car in. So as I mentioned in the intro, which I filmed yesterday, service issue. I bet that's come up because of the transmission fault that we got. The transmission fault is going to be because the output speed of the gearbox doesn't match the wheel speed. Obviously because we're getting a lot of slip through that diff. Now I've got to try and see if we can get it to actually roll in. So you can see there it revs, but it doesn't move. Okay, right, something's just grabbed. That's interesting. That's kind of moving like there's absolutely nothing wrong. I don't think the car will go backwards, so I'm going to try and get in without needing to go to reverse. Let's hope we don't scrape the front. Ooh. That's weird. That's grabbing like there's nothing wrong with the axle. Ugh. That's bizarre. Alright, let's just make sure it's about where it needs to be. That'll do. Alright. So, plan of attack. Get the wheels off, and I'm going to put the 437Ms back on it, and we'll get that axle out, which should be pretty easy. Alright, so we've got the wheels off, obviously. I'm just going to attack it now, but we need to get this nut off to get the axle out of the hub. I don't normally do it at this point. I'll normally undo it from the diff first, but obviously the spline is still going to be connected to the brake or the hub. So we can undo this nut now, and then undo the inside of the axle once we get it up in the air. But let me crack on with getting these little lock pin broken bits out, and I'll see if we can crack the nut without too much effort, because sometimes these are a bit of a nightmare to get undone. Okay, so we've got the lock nut part of these weird nut things on. I've got the handbrake on so it won't spin now, and I'm going to try it with a rattle gun. We've just got one of these cheap Ryobi rattle guns. Sometimes they'll crack these, sometimes they won't. If we can't do it with this, we'll have to use a breaker bar. So, wish me luck, we'll see if it comes out. Give it another break. That is actually just starting to move. You can see it's moved, I don't know, probably 5 degrees. And this one she'll come out. Obviously you can heat them up and that sort of stuff, but to be honest, they haven't been too bad. All the 335 axles I've done. There we go. Axle is off. Now the next pain in the arse thing is actually getting this axle out of the hub, which we'll get to that in a minute. But before we do that, I want to undo it at the diff, because we need to be able to spin this and sort of control the axle in the spline. All right, let's get underneath the car. So I do need to take the rear section of the muffler off just to get the axle out. I think, I do. You can take the diff out of these without taking the muffler off, the exhaust housing, exhaust rear section off, but we're going to have to take the muffler off. To do that, this is a Miltech exhaust. It's actually not too bad. I'll crack on with that, and I'll give you an update once we get to the axle. Well, the exhaust is finally off. I don't know how the time lapse is going to end up on that, because it took a hell of a long time. That was probably a good 25 minutes to get this piece off. Yeah, ended up heating it up and just everything. It just would not separate. Done a bit of damage, but we'll be able to tidy that up, put it back together. But yeah, slip-on exhausts. Pain in the dick. Anyway, she's off. We've got clear access to the axle, and yeah, you can kind of see where it's a little bit broken. Lol. All right. Yeah, definitely we did the axle. Interesting. Okay, so going to undo the E12 Torx bits, and that should get it out. I'll get on with that. Nice. And the old rattle gun makes that quite an easy job. So we have what's left of the axle. That's the point that it broke off just in there. So the last thing to do is just get the stub out of the hub, which hopefully is much easier than getting the exhaust off. Right. So another thing that can be a bit of a nightmare with some BMW axles is getting this stub axle part out of the actual hub on the car. The splines obviously like to corrode into each other. This is the way I do it. I wouldn't recommend doing it this way because you're never supposed to hit two hardened bits of steel together. But yeah, we had a nightmare doing Dave's E39, and when I do it this way, it's normally pretty quick. So we have a sledgehammer, normal hammer. Let's give it a go. One hit. Yeah, we're moving. We're moving. And I'd say we're pretty much out. Still pretty hard. And that sounded like it fell down. There it is. So that's what's left of the axle. It's all a bit munched. Looks like, yeah, it was the axle that snapped, but then the CV joints obviously got tangled up. All right, let's have a look at what we're going to replace it with. Okay, so that's the one that's come out of my car. My car, again, is an early 08, late 07 car. Originally it had a small case diff, and the axle that I currently have on the left-hand side of the vehicle was actually a thinner diameter than the original one. This axle here has come out of an 09 E90 or late 08 E90, also small housing, and it's got the same diameter axle as what I've just broken. I'm going to just run this for now. We've got quite a few second-hand M54 axles in stock at the moment. I'm not going to be doing any hard launches, and it's just going to be for a couple of weeks until I get the DCT swap underway. I'm still trying to work out what I'm going to do with the diff for the DCT swap. So I'm just going to run this instead of putting the M factory ones in. That's the short story. Let's get it slid into place. Actually, one thing I will do first, I'm just going to wire brush all of these splines and make sure they are all nice and clean, because they can be a bit of a biatch to get into the hub. Okay, so it's an actual drive shaft puller, and what we have is a little socket looking thing that will thread onto the drive shaft like so. Da-da. And then this little thing will thread into that like so, and then we can tighten it down and it will pull the shaft through. So I'm thinking that should, yeah, oh, probably need to put the brakes on, but we'll see if we can do it without. That's coming through without too much effort, apart from the brakes spinning. All right, so I don't know if you heard that, but that was the axle that will go under. The axle will now have clearance to go up into the diff, like so. Boom. All right, so that's on there. I'm going to get that all done up. We should, in fact, let's just have a quick look. I mean, once we've got it that far in, we should be safe to get the actual nut on, and the final nut will actually pull it through to its resting spot anyway. Yeah, heaps of threads. That hasn't got much more to come through, to be honest. But we'll do it with the final nut, and I'll do that in a minute. Let's get the inside buttoned up. So I'm just going to reuse the original nut. That's what I did on the other side, and they're fine, but you're not supposed to. But YOLO! Right. That's going on. And I'm gonna do it with the rattle gun to save time. We'll see how far it gets in. I think that's done. All right, I didn't film it because I didn't know how much of a nightmare it was going to be after getting it off. But this piece is back on, and it's a bit manky from where I was trying to smash it off with the hammer. But I've cleaned all in there with a wire brush a lot. It actually slid on really, really nicely. So apart from a bit of mankiness, which I could probably clean with a grinder if I wanted to, but I'm going to leave it for now. This joint's gone on nicely. The only thing I didn't friggin' repair, I was actually hitting on this part with a sledgehammer trying to get it out, and it's not quite the right angle, so that rubber joint's not quite right. I'll fix it another day. In fact, I'll fix it when I do the DCT swap. But for now, I've lined up the exhaust tips to the point that I'm happy with. The exhaust is all on. The Torx bolts, whatever they are, the diff axle bolts, that's what they are. Axle bolts are all torqued, definitely to the correct spec. Axle's in. I think we're good. Might just chuck a little bit of degreaser on there before it comes down, because that is WD-40 that all sort of come out. I don't want that going on the brakes, obviously. Only thing I have got to do is just torque this nut, which I'm going to do when the car's down on the ground, handbrake on, probably in gear, and I'll just use a breaker bar on that. So I think we're good to do that. In fact, let me get it down and get on with that, I think. I didn't film it, but I've tapped the locking tabs back in, and I guess that is why they say you can't reuse these nuts, is you make an absolute mess of it when you try and lock them in twice. All right, now that does mean we're pretty much done. I'm going to put the 437M wheels back on, if I can say that without spinning, and take them a quick test drive. So let me get the wheels on, and we'll see if it still moves. All right, so car is now running. God, didn't really use much fuel at roll racing. Okay, let's put it into reverse. Okay, nothing too alarming. Alright, I think we're good. Let's get it out and we'll take it for a bit of a test drive. Alright, so we're losing light quickly, but let's head out on the road. Just make sure we don't have any funny noises. No clunks or bangs. Car's been running for about 10 minutes now, and the oil temp's still not moved. God love winter. Alright. Everything seems good. Alright. Let me get some heat into it. Actually, you guys can't see me. Let me get some heat into it, and we'll do a couple of pulls, and I think that'll be enough for this video, I think. Alright. Alright, well, it's been running for about 20 minutes now. Oil temp is at about 90 degrees C. So that means we should be right to do a little bit of a pull. Still got my clutch diff. All right. Woohoo! We broke traction. That felt good. That felt really good. All right, let's get to a safe spot. We'll do a bit of a roll on and really load it up. All right. Let's go full throttle. She's pulling well, gentlemen. She's pulling well. All right, we're back in business. We have a working car again. All right, I'm going to end the video off there. I cannot believe this has taken like 12 hours to do an axle, about 3 hours of actual work. And I think an hour of that was probably getting that exhaust off. But yeah, as I said at the start of this video, let me know if you are that keen to see what a 6AT is going to dyno like. Now, my original plan was to get the car fully sorted, really wound up to the max, and then go and dyno it. But because of the boost issues that we've had with the 17Ts since I've had this motor on, which I think I've got to work around with that boost not hitting target like it should. But yeah, the plan was basically get the car fully maxed out and then go and dyno it. So long story short, if I go and dyno it this week, it's just going to be how it is now. So pretty safe timing numbers, and only around that 25, I think it's about 25.8 psi is most it'll hit at the moment. But yeah, it could be interesting to see the before and after DCT dyno numbers, like how much more power do you get at the wheel with a DCT versus an automatic transmission, because I reckon there's going to be a bit of a difference there. Anyway, thank you for watching. The car's good to go. I'm happy. I always get a little bit depresso when I get a week without driving this thing, so I'm glad I can take it for a spin again, even if the DCT isn't happening just yet. Now, I am waiting on a few bits and pieces. I think I mentioned at the start of this video, but I've got the M Factory single mass flywheel, which I know I'm going to regret, but it was just the quickest way to get this DCT behind this engine for now before I can get a dual mass flywheel. But I've got the single mass DCT flywheel coming. I have ordered the tools to do all the computer programming. Yeah, it's just a matter of time. Anyway, I'm going to end off here. Thank you very much for watching. 17T car's back. Woo! Man, this thing's fast too. All right, we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.